Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this edition of the Community Town Hall. My name is John Bristow. Thank you very much for your time and attention joining us here today. I really appreciate it. I'll invite my other co-host to join us here on the screen. Hey, Bob, how's it going? Jonathan, how are you?
Good morning. Very well, thank you.
Doing well.
Excellent. There's James. There's Adam. Hello, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us. We really appreciate it. This is a live event, obviously, so if you have any questions, feel free to join us on the Q&A. Ask your questions there. We're happy to facilitate it at any point there, which is great. What I will do is I'll turn it over to the folks to introduce themselves in case folks have never seen these people before. Jonathan, let's start with you. You're my top left.
Hi, John Hardy. I'm Senior Product Manager looking after our cloud platform, so Octopus Cloud offering.
Excellent. Bob?
My name is Bob Walker. I'm a field CTO within Octopus Deploy, and I've been here since 2018, and I'd just love to just share my knowledge about Octopus Deploy.
Excellent. James?
Hey everyone, James Chatmas, Principal Solutions Architect here at Octopus Deploy. Been with Octopus about 4.5 years now, and prior to this role, I was actually a customer before joining the team. So happy to be here.
Awesome. And Adam, lastly but not leastly.
Yeah, thank you, John. Hey everyone, Adam Close here, Solutions Engineer, much like James, but based in the UK. I've been here around just over 4 years now. Like James, previous user of Octopus Deploy, turned Octopus Deploy employee.
Fantastic. Well, welcome everyone, and thank you for your time and attention for joining us for this Community Town Hall. As I said, this is a live event, so we've opened up the Q&A pane. If you have any questions at all about Octopus, about anything you've heard in terms of the news, etc., the weather, maybe, who knows, feel free to submit a question there. We're happy to facilitate that. I am having an issue with sharing my screen at the moment, so that's fine. We'll just continue on. We'll soldier on as we go. And I may actually just jump out and then jump back in here in a second to reset my system. But we've had quite a month, eh? We've released 23.3. We've had a bunch of content go online, and yeah, it would just this is going to be me. This is going to be my exit stage left, and then reappear as I turn it over to you guys to talk a little bit about some of the highlights. So, Bob, 23.3. We talked a little bit about. You and I talked about this on a YouTube video. What are your thoughts about this?
I'm super excited to see it come out. I'm really excited to see all the new Git integrations with it. I'm also really excited to just see some of the other niceties behind the scenes. So in case you've missed it, we also have the capability to now do retention policies on your audit log, which I think is fantastic because that typically is one of the biggest tables that we have within the database itself. James, Adam, I'm sure you've heard about that from our customers. Talking with them, it's like, why is our database so big?
It's the audit log for sure.
Yeah. And so I'm really excited to see that come through. I'm also super excited about the new multi-tenancy functionality that's coming through, specifically about being able to assign multiple tenants at the same time to a project. Now, James, I know that you worked for a company that had thousands of tenants, so I'm sure that you wish you had that in the past.
Yeah, that's right. Previously, it was a lot of repetitive click here, click here, click here, and now with these bulk actions, it's I wish I had it 4 years ago, essentially.
Yeah, I wish I had it too, especially when we're setting up all those demos back in the day on something like that.
Oh yeah,
I love that. Go ahead.
So I was going to, is it the clone from existing tenant as well? That's having that. That saved me so much time already, when building out some demos.
I know. Yeah, it's so much better. And then I'm also really excited by like we said, the Kubernetes features that have been added in there. We're building more and more functionality to make the experience within Kubernetes. John's just passing that screen right now where we can source Kubernetes files directly from Git repositories. I don't know about anyone else, but I wasn't a big fan of the workflow that I ended up having to do. Like even when I was sourcing it from, say, GitHub, I'd have to make the change to the file, create a release in GitHub, and then create a release in Octopus, and then kind of go through this whole rigmarole, even get to the point. So now we've cleaned that up much, much it's much better, I guess, is what I want to say.
Yeah, it makes sense as well. I mean, you're defining configuration in YAML, and the best place for text files, at least last time I checked, was source control. So being able, and Git is definitely a popular option. So being able to store that and then reference it within Octopus is a really nice thing.
I don't know about everybody else on the call, but I've been using Git for so long, I almost forget that there are other options these days.
That's right. So 23.3 is now out, and this has been out for about a month, and we've had customers starting to adopt it, which is great. But we do have other news that I wanted to get to, and that was me tap dancing, by the way. I was unable to share my screen for some reason, so I jumped out, jumped back in. It was like nothing happened, right? So anyways, just to share with you some context around some of the things that we've done. We've written a lot. So octopus.com/blog is our main blog, and we've written a number of articles in the month of September. It's been the Andy show. So Andy's written a whole series of articles around what deployments would look like without tenants. He's basically making or building the case for tenanted deployments. And so he's making cases for like, hey, if you don't have tenants, you're going to have to face a situation like this or like that. Steve wrote an article entitled "The Paved versus Golden Paths in Platform Engineering." Platform engineering is a increasingly popular term you're hearing used a lot, especially in dev teams, and is basically facilitating a means for which you can build out solutions with a whole bunch of other things as well, like an IDP or internal development platform. And platform engineering is to some folks is sort of a refinement of DevOps. So Steve talks a little bit about that as well. So lots and lots of stuff happening on the blog. We've had lots and lots of articles there, which is great. In addition to that, we have also recently published our deployment capability score. So you'll find this up on our site at octopus.com/deployment-capability-assessment. So what this allows you to do is through a quick 5-question survey, you'll get a score determining where you lie in terms of your team's ability to do deployments. And that will provide some context when chatting with us, with your colleagues, with others, etc. And so here's an example of what that score might look like. So this is an example of a score this is the Julia Childs. Here's one I prepared earlier sort of thing. So I scored a 40% on my deployment capability based on my answers. And so you can see that it does a summary of those questions. So it says you're not running in a cluster, an opportunity. So we identify opportunities as part of this. So your deployment frequency. So you don't deploy as often possibly as you should. You have an ability to increase your productivity if you were to potentially increase that, for example. Automation is another component as well. So being able to automate these things is important. And this is based on the observations that folks have made across teams. We've seen this in the State of DevOps report. We've seen this in the in the DORA Insights generative charts. We've seen this in a lot of different ways. And if you're at all curious as to what this is based on, we have a series of white papers that we've written that kind of reinforce the values around these things. And so feel free to take the survey. Let us know what you scored. And if you want, you can reference the white papers at the bottom as well. And if you're looking for other sort of things like the other sort of events like we're hosting right now, we have our webinars page. So you'll find us at octopus.com/webinars. We have a partner event that's coming up later this week with ClearMeasure, talking about deployments to a variety of environments and the things that you can do around those deployments. We have our 101 series as well. This is our monthly sort of primer into Octopus. Next month, we've got webinars on Kubernetes. We've got webinars on platform engineering. Adam, you're going to do a webinar with Steve.
Yeah, that tied nice. I should have mentioned this when you were talking about platform engineering a second ago. But yeah, me and Steve will be talking about platform engineering, kind of introducing what platform engineering is and what we understand of it right now, and whether you should adopt it or whether you can kind of hold off and kind of wait. It is kind of like a new buzzword today. Yep. So, we don't always have to jump straight to the next big thing. So that's what me and Steve are going to talk about. I'm looking forward to that one.
Fantastic. That's awesome. So yeah, all these and more are listed on our webinars site, which you can check out at /webinars. We've also published a ton of video content. Bob, I know that you and I have recently talked about a few things. You did a webinar about rollback strategies, for example. You and I did a lap around 2023.3 as well. So that was fun.
Yep.
We've got other videos talking about other things. Tell us a little bit about the webinar you did.
Yeah, so the rollback strategies, what we did is we just covered 3 different types of rollback strategies that are available that you can use in today. So we have the 15-minute rollback. Sorry, I think I'm going to call it 10-minute, 3-minute, and immediate rollback strategy. I kept messing with the times, to be completely honest. And we started going through things like, how do you roll back a database? And I took some strong opinions in that webinar. Basically, don't roll back your database is essentially what I came back to. And once you
the train always moves forward. Sorry.
Exactly. And so once you make that determination, it really changes how you look at how you want to do rollbacks. And I think I ended on going ahead and doing a rolling forward. I just pushed in this week. Was it this week? This week or late last week? The written form of this webinar, in case you're wondering. So if this is just too much information to take all at once, or you want to digest it in a different way, that's going to be published on our blog, hopefully sometime in October. Like I said, I just pushed it into our approval pipeline to get it edited and make it sound like I know how to write. So
that's awesome. And then you and I, we did a lap around 2023.3. I know this is really meta by seeing us kind of talk while we're on a webinar and all that, but we talked about some of the things, the features that are in 2023.3. And so if you're all curious, you can see those also on our YouTube channel. And we have a bunch of other stuff as well. Most recently, we talked to, I talked to Kit and to Yihao about customized support inside of Octopus. This is new in 2023.3. So Customize is a tool that allows you to basically, without templates, configure your configuration files for Kubernetes. And oftentimes people, when doing deployments to Kubernetes, want to use a tool like Customize, and it gives you a nice flexibility in terms of which environment I'm targeting in Kubernetes, not Octopus environment, but a Kubernetes environment. When we talk about Kubernetes and Octopus in the same sentence, it gets really confusing. But we now have support for Customize. And so there was a great demo that Yihao did in terms of that. And so great to see. Adam, what's up?
Yeah, just to kind of follow on from that, we have our samples page at Octopus that kind of shows you that there's tons of examples in how to use certain features of Octopus Deploy. One of my colleagues, Sean Cessna, has created a new sample that users customize.
Oh, awesome.
Check out. I'll send you this link. You might be able to bring it up, John.
Yeah, please. Actually, yeah, you can share your screen, or we can. I'll go ahead and bring up the link here. So you've got it to me on chat. Oh, okay, perfect. Let's see where you got it.
Yeah, so if you want to check out how that works, it's a great example. Go on, Bob.
Fantastic.
I was say while you're waiting for that to load, I think it's hilarious that both every time John shows a video of John or myself, we're basically wearing the same T-shirt.
I have many black shirts. Don't I have many. I'm like Mark Zuckerberg. I have a whole consistent wardrobe.
Yeah, so do I. I like because we were the original Adam, James, and myself. We were one of the original ones who would have these types of polos. So I have a whole closet full of them still.
Perfect.
That's right.
So Adam, this is the instance you were referencing.
Yeah. So if you check out the deployment process, you'll be able to see the step in action. Kind of see what he's doing. So and samples is great. If you want to take a kind of copy of this and put that into your own instance, that's something you could do. So yeah, thank you to Sean for that one.
Big
that's
shout
awesome.
out to Sean.
Mm-hmm. Here's the example of us referencing Git. And then the way that this works is you basically give it a path directory for your customization files. So customization files are these like YAML snippets that you'll reference. And you can see we're using Octostash here to denote the individual the individual environments. Sorry, it's early English. The environment names, and then we can basically do variable substitutions in those files that we find in Customize. So these customization files, and then that will help us with our deployment. In addition to that, when we do our releases, which is awesome, we also expose to you, because we're doing deployments to Kubernetes, the object status of those elements inside of Kubernetes as well. So you'll see kind of like what's happening. You're seeing the sausage get made basically within Kubernetes here, which is great. So you can see your pods, your replica sets, your deployments, your jobs, your services, etc. So that's all exposed there. So thanks to Sean.
I also want to shout out, especially since Jonathan's on the line, that if we just released 2023.3 to our on-premise customers, but if you're on cloud, you would have had access to these features and functionality much sooner than September. So that is one of the advantages of Octopus Cloud, is you get to stay up to date with everything and you get the features much sooner. So if you are leveraging things like Kubernetes, this is a great way to stay up to date and get access to a lot of that features and functionality.
That's a great point. Yep. So Jonathan, I'm assuming you're just like, everyone should be on cloud. Is that right?
Maybe not today, but tomorrow, definitely.
Come on, we can support everyone. Come on.
We need to go on vacation. Like, oh, that's
that's right. Awesome. Yeah, so if you're all curious, you can check out the customized step. For example, if you decide to add a step here, you'll see it in the Kubernetes section, which is here. And there's the new customized step that we've added, along with other ones as well. So we've talked about these. Bob and I talked about, the integration with YAML for a variety of sources and Git-based repositories, etc., which is great. So fantastic. So just recapping, we've had a lot of stuff. Some minor updates to things. We've had some updates to CLI. This is the repo for it up on GitHub. And we've added support for OIDC, which is on our roadmap as well. Mm-hmm. So again, roadmap.octopus.com. This should be your homepage, if not a bookmark. And we've planned support for OIDC, or the OpenID Connect protocol. And this is basically a way in which you can authenticate to backend services without sharing credentials to a certain extent. There are some aspects to this, but it's more of an internet-friendly, protocol-agnostic sort of way of doing this. And so we recently added support to the CLI for that. So that was introduced in 1.60. So you'll see it listed here. And in our PR, we certainly state the case that OpenID Connect is currently under development. So this is in anticipation for people wanting to use this. But the CLI is going like gangbusters, as is the Terraform provider. So we are now up to 1.2 million downloads over the lifetime, which is awesome. And we've had some release updates to this. So again, jumping into the repo, we've had a couple of releases this month. So we've added descriptions for connection connect timeout. And then there are other releases as well. Minor updates, basically, little variable changes, config changes, etc. So definitely worth checking out. And that's up on our Octopus Deploy Labs org as well. Awesome. That was the news from me. I'll stop sharing my screen. And does anyone have any comments before we move on some of the news and exciting things we've shown?
Real quick, if you're not familiar with the sample site, the URL is samples.octopus.app. And there's a number of spaces that all have different patterns and whatnot that you can use. So that is how you get there.
Awesome. And so just to kind of kick the tires here, let me just bring it up here. I have to switch between two windows here, so apologies for that. So just share the screen. You'd love this to be seamless, but this proves the fact that it's live, right? Because I'm struggling. So as James rightly mentioned, what are some of these spaces here, James? We've got a lot of spaces.
Yeah. So if we take a look at all kinds of examples for all different types of database deployments, pattern monolith kind of shows splitting up a monolithic application to microservices. We got a new flyway space as well. Different patterns like canary and blue-green deployments. So kind of run the gambit of example deployments.
Fantastic.
Awesome. You can always tell who created this space and who's the cheekiest, because I think you can always tell whenever I create a space, because I'm always the one that has like the pattern Voltron stuff. Yeah. I'm always the one that's throwing in the funny images. Everyone else is like, no, we gotta be serious. Like, nah, we don't want to do that. So.
That's awesome.
We use this internally, John. I use it this week. So if you jump to pattern rolling, just scroll up, go to pattern rolling. Just one down.
Rolling. Sorry, my apologies.
There we go. Rolling.
Spaced out there for a second. Yep.
And then if you go to AWS rolling deploy, second one down the list.
Yeah, gotcha.
Let's go to the process. I was trying to build out auto. I was doing some auto scaling with AWS, and
nice.
I had a bunch of EC2 machines as part of a load balancer, and I want to perform a rolling update. I want to take 2 machines out, update them, add them back into the load balancer. Now, I built this probably 2 years ago, this sample, and I forgot all the scripts I needed to actually remove them from the target group and add them back in. Now,
did you get a bill?
No bill. But if you go in, so you take 4.2 as one of those child steps, deregister into the target group. I've got the script, the AWS CLI script in there. Essentially,
nice.
Went in, copied the whole process really. So it helps us internally as well when we forget to save some of our previous work. This is my save.
Absolutely. I had a bit of a scare there. I thought you were about to tell us like, hey, I forgot about this, and I had this huge AWS bill.
Oh, I've done that before, but not this time.
Haven't we all?
Yeah,
that's right. Sorry, Bob, I interrupted you.
Oh, I was going to say that it's funny because the samples instance came about years ago as just, I think it was a way to show off how to do a particular deployment process for a particular customer. And we were really struggling. I think it was a case of screenshots just wasn't doing it. And they're like, we just need something to poke around with. And you're like, okay. So we set this up and it's slowly just been evolving over the years, adding new examples, adding new spaces. You can see that I think the integration flyway is probably the newest one that I added when we added in all the flyway integration stuff.
I love this one.
Yeah, so you can see all the different patterns that we've slowly been adding on top of it, and it's great to see other people using it as well. I mean, we are updating it, and you can see that from what Sean was doing with the Kubernetes stuff, and it's just I think it's really cool, and I love the fact that it's just stays around. That's one of the other advantages of cloud, is that anyone can also access it. We have it set up for guest access. So if you're interested, go to samples.octopus.app, as James said. Sign in as a guest.
That's right.
Awesome.
I think you can export those as well. I could be mistaken.
I
you do that
don't
as a guest? Oh, no.
think I have that turned on for guests, but I might.
Okay.
We might have to mess around with it.
That's all right. Just have 2 windows open. There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely speaks to me as a practitioner of the show, don't tell. I love show as opposed to tell. So awesome. Speaking of show, Jonathan, I'm going to turn the reins over to you. You have some things that you wanted to talk about.
Yeah, thanks very much, John. And I'm glad Bob mentioned that samples.app is running on Octopus Cloud. So there it is, in the flesh, in action. So all these great developments that everyone's talked about so far all begin with our customer research. And so I'm here to make an announcement and tell you about a bit of customer research that I'm undertaking. And it's all around, to answer the question, what should our next generation of Octopus Cloud workers look like? And when I say Octopus Cloud workers, both forms, so the dynamic workers, which is the ones that we host, but also many of our customers self-host workers, and they may be Octopus Cloud customers that host workers within their own infrastructure for particular reasons. And of course, if you're on-prem, you can host your own workers as well. So what I'm particularly interested in is your needs around dynamic scalability. So what pain points have you had with our existing workers when you needed to scale? We know that deployments are often quite bursty, and customers have fed back to us that being able to scale these more in real time would be advantageous. Your security, and particularly your IAM considerations. So we talked a little bit about OIDC, but also the authorization part. How would you wish to authorize the workers or the Octopus server authorize access to the infrastructure within your infrastructure? And what are your needs there? Do you need different levels of authorization, and what would really make it seamless for you? We'd like to get some insight into your use cases to really give us the context of what you are doing. That helps us to really understand your needs at that deeper level. And then just anything else, what's important to you with respect to workers? What do we not know that you know that we ought to know? So, or in short, what are our unknown unknowns? What else should we be really aware of when we contemplating the next generation? So to do that, I've put up, and I'm not sure if this is the best way, but I've put in our community Slack under the research channel an entrance there, and that's got the details, as well as 2 Calendly links for my calendar. And so I'd really like to invite anyone who can contribute to make a time with me using those Calendly links, and be really privileged to talk to you about your needs and use cases.
Fantastic. So just to reiterate, Jonathan needs your help. This is your call to action to help Jonathan. And Jonathan's also, we'll make sure I'll highlight the link here. Let me do this. Actually, let me go ahead and put this in the chat window to everyone so that everyone can see it.
I've just
I'll highlight this. Yeah, there you go. So there's the link. Really cryptic, but that's okay. This will show up in the post recording, and it will also show up in a list of links for the recording itself. But if you go to our Slack, this is the easiest thing. Just join our Slack channel. So if you go to our Slack channel, there's a channel there called Research, and you can go there and you can talk to Jonathan potentially about some of the things that you may want to see relative to workers. So yeah. If you're at all curious, go check that out. Let Jonathan know that you're interested to chat with him. This is directly to his Calendly link. And, Jonathan's a nice guy. Go talk to him, so awesome. That's fantastic. So yeah, next generation of workers. You've piqued my curiosity. So it's that old meme. It's like, now you have my full attention, basically. So dynamic scalability is definitely interesting to me. Security, obviously, the number 1, 2 there for me. But dynamic scalability is awesome. So any hints or any tells you want to share with folks, or what you guys are thinking?
No, in the sense that we're trying not to think solution before we actually know what the requirements are.
Come on, you got to put the cart before the horse. Come on.
we have to guard against confirmation bias and all our preconceived ideas. So no, John, we have ideas, but we put them out of mind. Particularly when we are listening. Yeah.
Fantastic.
I'm excited by the next generation of workers, just because if you really think about it, workers, they came out in 2018 and I want to say spring, summer, and they haven't really changed all that much. And so seeing what's going to be coming down the pike, and all the things that you just listed there are all the things that I remember talking about and hearing about. So I'm super excited that we're addressing that, and I can't wait to see what all the research results in. And yeah, anything you can do to help out, especially those pain points, very, very helpful for us.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think awesome. Workers go hand in hand with modern deployments as well.
100%.
As we've talked about Kubernetes customized. Probably 4 years ago when we released workers, the bulk of the deployments were probably to Windows and Linux machines. We've seen growth in modern deployments now, ECS, Kubernetes, Azure Web Apps, where workers are more utilized. So I think it's a really good time to bring out the next generation of workers. Excited to.
Yeah, funnily enough, the very first use case I pushed for workers when they first were released was deploying to databases, because like, oh, that solves that particular problem. And
No.
yeah, and so it shows how much we've evolved since then.
Yeah.
Just not only as a company, but just as an industry. It's like going from self-hosted databases. Now we're talking about Kubernetes and Customize and Bicep and all these other fancy terms.
Mm. No more jump box.
Excellent.
For your
No more
database
jump box.
changes. I had a few of those.
Oh, so did I. So did I.
Awesome. So yeah, just to remind folks, we're taking live questions. If you have any questions about anything we've talked about so far, or have any questions about anything else relative to Octopus Deploy, feel free to leverage the Q&A and let us know. Does anyone else have anything that they would like to showcase, cite, demo, et cetera, talk about?
Yeah, I have a quick show and tell, John.
Sure.
Go ahead and share my screen.
This is me tap dancing as James is getting his, look over here. Don't look at James. He's preparing his screen.
Right.
How about that local sports team?
How about it?
Man, they really did a number on the rival sports team. There you go. All right.
That's great.
The Nye Mets are my favorite team.
Amazing. All right. So we talked a lot about a bunch of new features we have. Sometimes there are features that not necessarily the star of the show still deserve a moment in the spotlight. I'll ask this to everyone on the call, and I assume I know what the answer is, but have you all heard about the prevent progression feature in Octopus? And I assume that'll be a yes from everyone.
No, James, I have not. Please tell us more.
Yeah, I will. Well, I'm sure there may be people on the call who haven't, and if not, you're in for a treat. So what's it all about? Prevent progression, built-in Octopus feature that allows you to essentially stop a release from moving forward to the next environment, almost like a pause button for your deployments. So if we take a look at it and how it works, we'll dive into my orchestration project here. And you can see I have on my release overview screen, I have a list of the most recent releases. So when would you use this? Let's say we have, you can see we have our 1.6.2 release and our 1.6.3 release. They've both made it through development and test, but something feels off about 1.6.2. Maybe test ran into a regression issue, or something is awry with that release. So we can prevent that progression. We don't ever want that one to go to production. So from here, if we click on the release number, it'll bring us to our release overview screen, where you can see kind of the history of where it's been and where it can go. In the upper right, kind of the obscure overflow menu, the three dots. If I click on that, we'll see we have a prevent progression button. So I'll select that. I have to give some sort of description. So we're pausing this for the town hall. Great. And I'll click on prevent progression, and you can see we have this notification now. So deployment to the next phase is blocked. I've got my note here. And if we go back to our release overview screen, you'll notice I no longer have a deploy button here, which is essentially preventing me from deploying this release to production. I'm an admin, so I have all the permissions, and I am still unable to do this. And we also have a nice little warning symbol here. Tells us this release has been blocked. So that is prevent progression. Probably not widely used, but when relevant, it's certainly a powerful feature within the product.
So James, let me ask you this. Can you prevent progression on a release via the API?
Ooh, good question. I don't know the answer to that for sure, but my gut's telling me there's a yes on that, and it's probably something that could be scripted fairly easily.
Yeah, so that is one thing I was worried. Yeah, can you do that to the CLI too, John?
You can. Sorry, I was putting my hand up here. I was like, yes, you totally can do that.
Yeah. So it might be something that as you run your deployment process, you might have some sanity checks that you run, or some smoke tests that you run soon after deploying a release to a particular environment. And if it discovers any sort of problems, you could easily trigger you run the CLI to say, hey, this release, it's not good. We don't want it to progress any farther.
Yeah, that question came up. Programmatically stopping a release is something that came up on our help forum, and it talks about our APIs there, but it also talks about Octo, which is our first instance of our CLI as well. So you can do that. Fantastic. Awesome. Was there anything else that anyone want to show off or talk about? All right. Silence is golden, I assume. There is one last thing, and this is like the one more thing from an homage to Steve Jobs. Yes, that's right. So
you got the black shirt and everything.
I would like to. I know, right? It's got to be a turtleneck. I got to wear the sneakers, no belt, etc.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So this is something that no one publicly has heard about until now. So this is our new virtual conference called Shipped. So we have not talked about this publicly. You folks are the first ones to hear about this. If you go to octopus.com/shipped, you will see a site that looks like this. This is our first virtual event conference that we will be hosting on November 15th. It starts at 10 a.m. Central, and we will have a whole list of speakers, including Bob and myself and others, talking about Octopus. So, Shipped 23. This is November 15th. You'll find out more, and you can also register at octopus.com/shipped. Now, we have 3 of our sessions listed. The agenda will change as we go, but we've got a lot of great content that we have planned, and we've got a lot of great sessions that we're going to have folks do. We're not done with listing all our speakers yet. We have a couple more speakers that are going to be joining us for this event. And so definitely worth checking out. So octopus.com/shipped. We have not talked about this publicly until now. So there you go.
Can we talk about?
I got excited doing that.
Yeah. Can we talk about where the name came from?
Yes. So this is a bit of an homage to an old newsletter that Paul used to write for the company called Shipped, and it had this octopus on top of a boat, and it was basically like an internal company newsletter, giving a status update of how we're doing, et cetera, et cetera. Because I joined when we were about 50-ish people, and we've grown massively since then. And so this was kind of a nice way of keeping everyone up to date. So it's a bit of an homage to that. It's also, it's a typical sort of reference to deployments, right? And that's why we got the octopus with the, the shipping boat here. So thankfully we did include Tasmania. That's a joke to folks who are in Australia. Most maps that you see about Australia, they tend to forget about Tasmania.
I do love the fact that we forgot. I noticed we just forgot New Zealand though.
Nope, we didn't.
Is that hidden behind the boat?
No, it's just gently underneath the boat. It doesn't mean anything. There's nothing. Don't read into this. Please don't read into this. I saw that too. And one of the things we were thinking is like, how do we get all of our countries and continents represented? Because we've got Adam here joining us from Scotland, and John and I are in America, or in America. And I'm thinking of you, Bob and James. Bob and James are in the States, and then Jonathan and I are in Australia. So it's kind of hard to take unless it's kind of hard to take a global sphere and represent it, very well. So yeah, apologies for that. But yeah, definitely worth checking out. I've got a lot of content that we're going to be planning, and I'm tremendously excited about this. So octopus.com/shipped. There you go. Wow. Awesome. That's like shaking off the that's the first time publicly we've talked about it. So there you go.
I'm excited. I'm really looking forward to seeing both Paul and Colin's presentation. I think it's gonna be really cool to just in general see what's going to be the direction for Octopus in 2024. I almost said 2025 because some of the planning that I've seen is 2025. Right. I'm like that. No, not yet.
Kubernetes 1.99 will be out by then. Maybe we'll see. They can't get off version 1.
Yeah, the next whatever the next thing for containerization comes, because we're constantly evolving how we have to host our applications. But no, I'm really excited to see the direction. I think it's going to be a great I'm really excited to speak there as well. I think it's going to be a great conference.
Fantastic. All right. Well, that wraps up the latest Community Town Hall. Thanks, James, John, Adam, and Bob for joining. Really appreciate it. As you can tell, this is a bit informal, but that's the nature of these town halls. It will be hosting one next month. in October. These always occur on the final Wednesday of each month. And so if you want to join next time, you'll see it up on our website at octopus.com/webinars. And yeah, we'll just kind of, it's kind of like cooking on the fly sort of thing. So anyways, on behalf of my teammates here and myself, thank you very much for joining. We will be posting a recording of this up on our YouTube channel. So stay tuned for that. And until next time, everyone, have a good one. Take it easy.
Thanks so much.
Yeah,